Hey everyone, welcome. If you're looking for a clear, direct, and distraction-free breakdown of your local government at work, you are absolutely in the right place. Let's dive right into this explainer covering the impactful decisions and some truly spirited debates from the June 2nd, 2026 North Yarmouth Select Board meeting. We've got a lot of ground to cover, and we are going to distill everything you need to know.
Here is what we're looking at today. First, the June 2nd meeting itself. Then the Sharps House rental ratification, the school funding formula petition, planning contracts and grants, and finally, the Pride Month proclamation.
Section 1. The June 2nd meeting. So this wasn't your typical start to a Tuesday evening. Before the public session even kicked off, the board was already deep in the weeds. They officially wrapped up a lengthy executive session about town manager applications right at 6:12 p.m. Then, they dove straight into a packed agenda of town business. Our goal with this explainer today is to give you a quick, objective rundown of exactly what went down. With the annual town meeting coming up fast on June 15th, getting a handle on how these local decisions are being shaped is absolutely vital.
Section 2. Sharps House rental ratified.
The joys of inheriting decades-old municipal bureaucracy, right? Let's unpack this history. The Sharps House is a town-owned property that's historically been leased out as employer-provided housing for municipal employees, most recently, the fire chief. The town actually acquired this property about 25 years ago. And over those 2.5 decades, these leases were negotiated and signed solely by past town managers. Simple enough. Fast forward to October 2024, and the current lease with the fire chief gets executed, again, without a select board vote. But here's the catch. A recent legal review in June 2026 dropped a bit of a bombshell. It turns out, according to the town charter and Maine law, these agreements literally require select board approval. This left the current board in a really tricky spot, holding a legally binding contract that completely skipped a major step in its creation.
As you can imagine, this history sparked some pretty intense public pushback during the meeting. Residents were seriously frustrated, not necessarily at the current board, but at how this property was handled historically. One resident actually called out a former town attorney who drafted the original contract template, pointing out that it was missing basic things like an end date or even a clause to adjust the rent annually. They flat out called it sloppy work, noting that being locked into a flawed contract puts the town in a really tough bind.
So, what did the board do with this inherited mess? Well, despite the totally understandable frustration and the acknowledged flaws in the contract, they voted 3-1 to retroactively ratify the lease. The majority basically argued, look, we can't unilaterally change the contract now without risking a breach of a valid lease, which would put the town in legal jeopardy. The one dissenting vote, that member really wanted to try and negotiate or fix those contract flaws first. But the board did make one thing crystal clear. Once this current lease ends, which is tied to the current chief's employment, any future decisions where the town acts as a landlord will absolutely require the select board's involvement and approval.
Section 3. School funding formula petition.
We have to ask, what's next for school funding? If you've been following the regional dispute over the MSAD 51 funding formula between North Yarmouth and Cumberland, you know it's a massive issue. Earlier this year, Cumberland asked to renegotiate the cost-sharing agreement, while North Yarmouth requested the district decline to take it up. Well, the MSAD 51 school board chair sent a formal letter declaring total neutrality. They stated it wasn't appropriate for the school board to place its thumb on the scale regarding the financial relationship between the two towns, so they effectively handed the whole issue right back to the municipalities to sort out.
With the school board stepping back, Cumberland is taking a new route. They're actually circulating a petition right now to force the issue. Legally, this requires signatures equivalent to 10% of the gubernatorial voters from the district. And get this, those signatures can come from residents of either Cumberland or North Yarmouth. Meanwhile, North Yarmouth officials pointed out they were pretty disappointed because Cumberland has, so far, declined invitations to talk this out through the established Joint Standing Committee. Instead, Cumberland prefers North Yarmouth just show up to a Cumberland Council meeting for public comment. This is definitely a developing story, and it's going to have a huge impact on future budgets.
Section 4. Planning, contracts, and grants.
Let's shift gears back to municipal operations. The town's planning services contract is up on June 30th. And the board had to weigh two very different options. In one corner, you have the Greater Portland Council of Governments, or GPCOG, offering a highly cost-effective flat rate of $100 an hour. In the other corner, the current provider, North Star Planning, which uses a tiered hourly rate. But North Star's owner, Ben Smith, attended the meeting and made a strong case for the value of their 5 years of institutional knowledge. He pointed out this continuity is absolutely crucial right now, especially since North Yarmouth just hired its 4th code enforcement officer in 5 years. Plus, he reminded the board that upcoming ordinance changes might actually shift these planning review costs away from taxpayers and onto developers anyway.
Faced with those two distinct options, the board unanimously voted to just hit pause and defer the decision to their next meeting on June 16th. They want to make sure it's a totally fair, side-by-side comparison by bringing in a GPCOG rep to answer questions, just like North Star got the chance to do. It's that classic local government balancing act, weighing strict hourly costs against the value of established community experience.
Before leaving municipal operations, the board secured a massive financial win for the town. They unanimously accepted a maximum $10,000 Housing Opportunity Program grant. This money is going straight toward helping the town develop state-mandated housing ordinance amendments, specifically stuff tied to legislative documents like LD 1829. And the best part? It won't cost the local taxpayers a dime. As the board noted, anytime you can fund mandatory state work with grant money instead of local tax revenue, that is a huge win for the community.
Section 5. Pride Month Proclamation.
To wrap up the rundown of the June 2nd meeting, we have a focus on community identity. To mark June as Pride Month, the board chair reread a statement originally drafted last year, affirming the town's unwavering support for the LGBTQIA+ community. The proclamation emphasized that all residents deserve to feel safe, valued, and included, and it highlighted the town's commitment to the Maine Human Rights Act. Now, as an impartial explainer of these events, we should also note that this reading wasn't unanimous. One board member formally opted out of participating in the statement, citing personal religious objections.
The chair concluded the proclamation by reading this incredibly poignant excerpt from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from a Birmingham jail. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. It really underscored a commitment to using local government's voice to protect and uplift everyone in the community, providing a very reflective end to the evening's business.
And that brings us to the end of this explainer. From untangling 25-year-old property leases and debating planning contracts to navigating regional school funding and locking down state grants, local government is a wild ride, but it literally shapes your day-to-day life. With the annual town meeting scheduled for June 15th, the ultimate legislative power in North Yarmouth rests with the residents who actually show up. So, I'll leave you with this question. As your town navigates these legacy contracts and regional partnerships, how will your voice shape North Yarmouth's next chapter? Thank you so much for being a focused learner with us today, and we'll catch you next time on The Explainer.